Good evening and welcome to the last board meeting of the regular school year, or the last regular board meeting of the school year. It's Tuesday, June 21st. We have a lot of more fun things to do tonight, and we will get there in a little while, but not that yours isn't going to be fun.
Thanks. Quite an intro.
Okay, but just to get through all the other stuff. We're going to start with the report from the superintendent, then we will do a public comment, and then we're going to have a presentation on the TV studio, and then we will get to the personnel appointments, and then we'll go, let you all go, and we'll do business. So you're all welcome to stay, but you don't have to. All right, so we will start.
The non-fun items first? All right, got it. I'm on it.
Well, there's a warm-up act, and then there's the main act.
Fair enough. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for coming out. It's been, I think, a wonderful school year. Good way to end this 15-16 school year. A lot of great things going on, particularly this past week with the 4th grade celebration, the 8th grade recognition night. We have the senior awards night tomorrow night, and of course the graduation on Thursday night. Keep our fingers crossed about the weather. It's not looking so good right now, but you never know. Some divine intervention would be helpful, so whatever you can do would be appreciated. And I know you'll be able to acknowledge some of the board members where that's their last board meeting a little bit later on. But I also would like to acknowledge Emily for being with us this past year as well, and introduce her sidekick who's at the table, who will be taking over for Emily for next year. So Emily, thank you for your time and your work with us. We certainly do appreciate that. And Parker, welcome.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having you here. So thanks.
So hoot a minute. You'll have a lot of fun.
Except for this part. So there are some good things and fun things to talk about that I'd like to share with you. So we did receive some information from niche.com. Don't ask me about it because I don't really know too much about niche.com. But it did rank the Farragut Middle School as one of the top middle schools in New York, which indicates the school is an exceptional institution with a diverse set of high-achieving students and faculty, and the students are very happy with their experience. So there is a whole set of criteria that I did look up. 50% is based on academics, and then there's some parental input, student input. I don't know how they got that, but it says they did. And a
Well, thank you to everybody who voted for us.
Extracurriculars and athletics and things like that. So congratulations to Farragut for making the good list. We had a wonderful Laddie classroom presentation at Hillside this past week, led by Jeremy Luft and Fareed Johnson. They did a wonderful, wonderful job for introducing parents to what a Laddie classroom was like. We had a number of teachers there from representing all grade levels who, after Fareed and Jeremy explained a little bit about the overview of the Laddie classroom, they presented a video that was very well done, filmed by one of our high school seniors. It is available on our website if anybody wants to see it. Hope you get an opportunity to do so. But the interesting thing tonight, the parents split up into the classrooms with teachers, and teachers led them through a sample Laddie lesson. It was very interesting to watch. It was pretty well attended. We had over, I think, 30 parents there. And I think they had a good evening and began to get a good understanding about what we're talking about when we say Laddie classroom. So it was a nice night, and thank you, Jeremy and Fareed, for their work behind that. The high school literary magazine has been published. It's also available on our website. If you get a chance, please take a look. It's got a wonderful collection of essays and illustrations done by our students that we're quite proud of. It's really a tremendous work, so please get a chance and take a look. And of course, we have our graduation day on Thursday night at 6 o'clock for the first time, I think, at Lower Burkefield. I'm not sure if it's ever been done at Lower Burkefield before, but it will be, hopefully. It may not be, but we're going to try. But as a rain backup, we will have the gym set up. We're trying to see if there's a way to stream it live into the auditorium. I know Peter's been working with Lou on trying to get that arranged if possible, just to have an alternative location that's air conditioned for some people that may not be able to deal with the heat. So we're going to try, and it gives about 400 more seats as well. So as a backup, we're trying to do what we can to make it a wonderful experience for all our children.
Are you going to be figured out if there's in the gym how many people per family?
Yeah, and Lou is working on that now. I don't know that off the top of my head, though. Yeah. Here's our valedictorian salutatorian who will be offering their speeches on commencement night as well. So Catherine and Giordano will be speaking. And that's it for this year in terms of board meetings. And we will start up again with our reorg meeting on July 6th. So once again, I want to thank the board for their continuous support of our programs, of our staff, of our students. I know it's not easy all the time. I know the amount of work that you do put in for us and for our district and for our children, and it does not go unnoticed, and it's very much appreciated, so thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is a public comment. So if there's anybody that would like to get up and say anything. If not, then we will go into our presentation by Mr. Peter Scotch. He's going to talk about the TV program.
So I'm going to ask Jeremy, I think, to, as our Director of Curriculum, to just introduce what we're going to see tonight.
All right.
And it gives me a little time to try to find...
The only PowerPoint.
Yeah.
You have very little time.
Thanks, Mel.
All right, good evening. So Mr. Scotch and I talked a little bit today and actually shared an overview of the course. So I'm really just going to paraphrase some of the things that our students are expected to do in the Introduction to Television Production class. And it talks a little bit about the enormous number of factors that go into producing something on television, from the camera position to the impact of the lighting to the editing positions, editing decisions in the set. And it goes on to talk about how the students are used to presenting information to a small group. Many times only the teacher is sort of the audience, and in this class is designed for a much larger audience where the students are producing content that will be shared with a much grander audience. And then I just wanted to read one last piece. It says, if you challenge yourselves to be diligent, thorough, and creative, you'll be rewarded with direct feedback that will be from a very sizable audience who is eager to see you succeed. And I think that really defines what Mr. Scotch was thinking in producing this class. It's certainly an impressive place. I've been there to visit, to see the studio itself. There's a lot of modern, cutting-edge equipment. I was more impressed when I found out that he is actually self-taught. He taught himself how to use all of this equipment. And without further ado, I will introduce Mr. Scotch, who is an extraordinary teacher, right? He told me so. Who has two students to talk a little bit about what goes on in the class. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything I need to...
Just there, but this way.
Okay.
Advance.
Okay, well, first I wanted to start off by thanking all of you for your tremendous support for this program and for so many other initiatives within the district. The opportunity to do this kind of work and start something new and exciting like this feels very representative of the environment of Hastings, and certainly one of the things that makes me proud to be a teacher here. I also want to thank Kira Rosner and Hannah Rauhut. They're going to be helping me this evening talk about the TV studio. So, so let me sort of begin by giving you a, if this works.
No. Not working?
Doing nothing.
All right, hang on.
Tonight by doing.
It's here now.
I'm going to give you a virtual tour of the studio since I don't know if
All right,
everyone has seen it.
We have a director of technology in the house, don't worry.
Yeah.
Not working yet?
There we go. Okay. So this is the actual studio itself, our physical space. This is the room where the cameras are, where the talent are filmed. And you can see one of the wall spaces that we have is completely green, so it's a green screen. And we can make any virtual set that we would like to put there. The other wall is white. And we have a number of backgrounds that we can put up to create a different kind of feel for the space. It's a great environment for doing interviews, where we use the white wall, doing individual pieces of one person in front of a camera. And the green screen, as I said, allows us to do any number of things, which are very creative. You can see there are multiple cameras. There we have 3 cameras, and there are light bars set up all over the ceiling so that we can configure the studio any way that we'd like, any configuration that we feel works best for what we want at the moment. So that's the outside room. The inside room, the control room, looks like this. It has a number of computers that manage all the cameras, create the content, work the lighting in the other room, the sound, additional computers for editing, even a teleprompter that we have. So it is incredibly high-tech. It has a very real, very authentic feel to it. All of this was possible from generous donations of equipment from various groups like CBS that Hillary Freilich helped facilitate, and of course from the tremendous funding by the PTSA. I think their grant was around $33,000. So it really was really extraordinary, and the room itself is representative of all the hard work that people around the district put in to ensure that it really is a mini TV studio, a very authentic environment. So that's the physical space. The actual field, the class itself, is very, very full, and it's very, very busy. When we're setting up for a show, the kids are all active. In a class, kids can be in the class, they can be throughout the school. Lou lets us roam the building as need be, as long as we're not disturbing anyone, to get different segments filmed. And the kids are also throughout the community, not during class, but at other times during the day and at wee hours of the morning as well, as you'll hear in a moment, to just get different segments. The mayor's been interviewed. We've been talking to different people in town about the storefronts and the new restaurants coming in, all kinds of different segments that they feel to capture their attention. I like to think of it sort of how bees work, lots of independence as they go off, but a strong awareness of the group and the group's efforts. So there's activities that people will need to do independently, but a very, very strong awareness that nothing works without everybody collaborating in the class. So what do the students learn? Here are a couple of things that we sort of go through during the semester. The first is the sort of technical things. There are many obvious technical things that they'll encounter. Things like lighting design, camera operation, sound work, editing, and even studio setup and maintenance. And it's weird because when you think about it, all of these different skill areas are professions in their own right. You have people who spend their entire profession figuring out how to perfectly light a person in a dramatic way. Obviously, we don't focus on dramatic lighting, but we have to talk about that at different times so that we can know what a studio, what a newscast would look like. And so that sort of is part of the decision-making process that they have to go through. And I think it's very exciting because I, with my English background, forced them to do a lot of journaling during the year and have to do some research, so that what they do is they find what interests them, they go out and they do research on that, and they try and bring that back into the classroom so that they can teach us. And again, it's not me being at the front of the room telling them everything that they should know, but oftentimes they're sharing a lot of information about what they've learned and how it can impact what goes on in the classroom. Also, there are some things that I think are sort of more philosophical that we deal with, like what does it mean to direct? What decisions does that role entail? How do you get people to work well together? How do you tell a good story? What must be involved in a visual story versus a written story? And how can you interview people and engage people? And certainly when you're thinking about storytelling, how can you ask questions? How can you ask questions so that you can edit the certain questions out at the same time, or edit yourself out? All of those sort of complex things that are part of coming up with good segments. And then some very important content decisions, what's appropriate, what isn't, and how can they string together things that might not seem like they match in some way, what could be their narrative thread for the overall piece, even if the content is rather different. Thematic choices, visual and content-wise as well, because as I'll tell you in a moment, one of the things I do is I leave the course open to being reinvented every single semester by the students who are there. And then, of course, the final thing is an awareness of audience. They need to be aware of they're pushing this content out to people in the community and actually throughout the world. And it's weird in that it is actually distributed through the world. I didn't realize until the first group that I was with did Raiders of the Lost Ark. as a soundtrack for their music, and I loaded it up to YouTube, and it wouldn't display in Germany, believe it or not, because they found the content of Raiders of the Lost Ark theme music was inappropriate for German music and for the German audience. I guess it was sort of banned in some way there or something. So it really made me realize how large the viewership could be in some ways. So I wanted to go from sort of those broad ideas to a couple quick curriculum things, give you a greater sense of what our class is like. The students are in teams to create a new opening sequence each semester, and that's sort of how we set the visual and thematic ideas for the class, for that group that we're working with. We break down the roles that are required from director to camera operators to technical directors to editors to lighting people, all of the things that I described before. And we'll rotate through them, so everybody does every single role. That's a challenge because, at some level, the content always stays at a certain level as a result of everybody learning something new each time. But I feel like in an introductory class, it's most exciting if everybody learns everything and they get then to decide what interests them and hopefully go from there. This is advancing without me, so I will try and catch up to it. We appoint a director, gather ideas, brainstorm how to develop different segments, create teams, and prepare the segments. And then about every fifth show, we actually sit down and film it. I like the format. It gives the kids ownership over the look and feel of the show each semester and allows them to learn, as I said, all of the different skills that are associated with the industry and with what's required. We actually have that YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and you just type in Hastings-on-Hudson Schools TV, all of our content is there. So I was going to call up Hannah now to talk about the impact of the class structure.
So I was in Mr. Scotch's first semester TV broadcasting class, and he once said that English class isn't about just reading and writing, but reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And this class arguably covers all of those aspects, more than any other English class, really. The journals and writing the scripts for each segment cover the listening and speaking portion. The reading and writing portion, sorry. And this class is especially linked to the whole ideas of listening and speaking. Aside from actually having to be on camera a lot of the time, communication between the different students in the class is essential. We all come together with different ideas and have to present them and come to a decision together on what to present. Everyone has the opportunity to share their ideas and everyone has to listen. Everyone has to work together in order for a show to run smoothly. So obviously communication is big, not just between the students and the audience of the film, but also communication between the class, the students themselves. And another part of this communication is not just the studio and inside the classroom, but also learning how to formally present ourselves to the community, to get footage, conduct interviews, how to interact with officials and other figures in the community who we might not otherwise get to interact with, to interview or obtain permission to film. So this ties in the real life aspects of journalism, but it goes beyond just writing and actually presentation and how to present yourself for a particular segment. I would say overall we've gained a level of confidence in and outside the studio that we might otherwise not have. With rotating positions, like Mr. Scotch said, we get to serve in different roles within the crew. And I was one of the first directors for the first semester class, which was definitely intimidating, but it was a huge learning experience for me. I think it's one of the few, if not the only course in the English department that allows students to assume a real leadership role in the classroom, which is kind of weird when you think about it when you're interacting with students your own age. But you learn how to properly organize, manage, and oversee a large-scale project like a TV production, which is huge. And instead of showing me my limitations, which I originally thought being the first director would do, it showed me just how much I was capable of, and despite the many trials and errors that we went through, it was a big learning experience overall, and I think I gained a big sense of confidence afterwards.
Great.
As Hannah mentioned, there's, I think, a strong curriculum impact that the class has. I think of it as sort of the science research class of the English department. Very authentic learning. As Hannah said, they're doing everything. And as a result, they are very, very busy. And we find that as since the class is so different, draws traditional and non-traditional students, everyone from what you might expect for this kind of class, the AV person, to somebody who is rather apathetic about school, and they think that this will be a way of sort of getting themselves up and going. This is very much like the Laddie environment, where kids are very self-directed. They're not in their seats ever, and so they're really always engaged as a result. The students learn a variety of skills that are immediately transferable to the real world of video production, which is there, and they focus on writing and presentation skills, all things that Hannah had said. And as I said, it's really something that makes a very big presence on they get the opportunity to make a big presence for the first time, because so much of what they do on a daily basis, I know, is work for us as teachers, and it's just one person. And now suddenly they're working for themselves, they're working for their friends, they get their friends to go see their videos, and it becomes a much larger role. So I wanted Kira to step up for a second and talk about what happens after the class, how the class was able to impact her for her internship and things like that.
Hi, my name is Kira Rosner, and I was also a student in the first TV broadcasting class first semester. And in many ways, Mr. Scotch was comparing it to the science research class, and I think that's very true. And the main similarity between them is the emphasis that is placed on learning not just in the classroom, but outside it as well. As important as it is to have that class time to make sure that students learn how to use all the equipment properly in a controlled environment, class doesn't end when the block is over, because the class itself is dependent on students going into the school and into the community outside of classroom hours to film certain segments. When I was in TV broadcasting, I would say most of my filming was done outside of classroom hours. And there were weeks when I would spend like 3 or 4 days after school filming games for the sports segment. And once I even went to White Plains to film a swim meet, since we don't have a pool and that team needed to be recognized. And there was even a morning when 2 of my classmates and I woke up at 6 o'clock so that we could film the sunrise for our introduction, because that's not something you can do during class hours. And I think that all of these hours outside of class make the experience more authentic overall, because at an actual news station, not everything can be planned to the last second. Things are going to go wrong sometimes, or you might have to go out of your way to film something important for a segment that you want to capture. And when you're out with your camera in the real world, a whole new set of challenges arises, and that presents students with the opportunity to problem solve and think flexibly without the help of a teacher their entire class at the moment. The journals are another key component to learning outside of the classroom, and they were one of my favorite parts of the class, because they allowed us to explore topics that we hadn't necessarily covered, but could bring back into the classroom and incorporate into future segments. Thank you.
I mentioned it before, but Hannah and Kira actually worked after the class. They went and did a number of things in the town TV station. So they've been very involved after the class and continuing all the learning there. And Kira is going to actually, at Tulane, pursue, what would it be called? Media?
It's called digital media production.
Digital media production. So she got her start here. Just to wrap up, I would say I want to talk about the future things. I just want to say at the moment the class is capped at 12 students just because of the physical limitation. And I know that might seem like a unfair thing because it's been great every semester. The class has been full, which I think is remarkable given how small our community is. But yet, first year it was full, and then for next year as well. We're slotted both semesters to be full. So I think it demonstrates the expression of interest that the kids have in the class. And as a result, I think it shows the ability for us to in the future continue to make it interesting by tapping into the incredible talent and experience within the community. A number of people have said that they would be excited to come into class. I've had a couple speakers already, and I'd like to continue doing that. I also think that at some point in the future we'd like to stream to the school so that it can be a live show, not just recorded to the internet and posted to the internet, but we can get announcements in and stuff like that. And then also give our things down to WHOH so that we are cycling through on the public access and again gaining visibility that way. And eventually, I would hope that we could maybe move to an advanced level TV studio class, so that a couple of kids, maybe it wouldn't be every semester, but every once in a while we could offer it so that those kids who had gone through the class and who are really interested could further their skills and sharpen them and sort of start to hone down. So instead of us having 12 kids, we're recycling through content and jobs all the time, suddenly get to refine what it is they've been working on. So again, thank you all so much for your support in this new endeavor. And that's that. Thanks.
You guys have questions?
Yes. Yeah.
Questions, anyone?
Questions, anyone?
Where's our segment?
Online. You get. I knew I was going to talk for too long, so I didn't want to run one. But you can. They are all posted up by semesters, so you can go and see how the different semesters have created their own feel. And as I said, we'll have a new one coming up. We also have the Laddie video project on there. I helped Cesco Russo work with that, create that, so that's also available there. And then my introductory segment, which just sort of said, basically, this is our TV station, is also available there.
That one I saw.
I have a quick question. Just, a teacher in elementary school, and my fifth graders just presented their capstone projects, and they used a structure, a TED Talk type structure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any kind of are kids doing that kind of presentation at all, or in the studio? Or?
They are in my classroom, as some of you are very aware of. Yes, they are doing that in the classrooms, but not in the TV studio at the moment. Now, again, there's so many opportunities to expand in that way, but we just haven't. It's not part of the class itself. There were a couple of moments where, for example, after the attacks in Paris, the kids wanted to do a segment where one person stood up and the camera just focused on her for that time, and she sort of talked about the impact of that. There was also a time after the Malarchik's passing, where the kids wanted to talk about community and what that meant to them. So we did a segment, within the show where a student spoke about that. So there are those kind of sort of intimate moments, but nothing TED Talk-y at this time. But plenty of opportunities to change the format as we progress.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Well, having heard that one segment, it would be interesting to hear the other kids in your class, like from that perspective, some kind of TED Talk or the things that they discussed for their project with you.
You mean, when you say that, do you mean like the options that they had to just...
Well, just what their final presentation was in your class for you would be interesting to have as a segment, as Lindsay.
Yeah. I film all of them when they give those presentations in my honors class, but I don't think they're quite ready for that public distribution yet.
Prime time, published.
Prime time.
I think they'll kill me if I do that. So yeah, they're already angry enough when I present them with that project. And surprised when they have the full camera looking at them. So yeah, we'll get to that down the road.
Thank you.
If I could just take a quick moment to thank Mr. Scotch and our students who came out tonight. I appreciate it very much. And when we were in concept of this studio, and we got the grants, and we had people helping us and stuff, it's like building, that car, but you still need somebody to drive it and take it to the track for us. And Mr. Scotch did volunteer willingly. He didn't have to twist his arm too much, but he willingly gave up a lot of his time and really took hold of this and made it his own. So I appreciate the efforts on his behalf and on all our behalf for the work that he did. So thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Can I I think this is just a fantastic accumulation of different skills that the kids are learning to put a product together, and it's the teamwork that's involved is such a great learning opportunity. And like you said, I think this is wonderful, and I'm sure that theater people, if they're listening to this, are very envious.
Yeah, I get a lot of expressions of envy in other departments. And again, one of the things I'm trying to do is work with other departments to find ways in which the facility can be used. Talked about, with Mr. Carini, when kids are auditioning for some of their pieces and they need to be videotaped. We talked about his music theory class, trying to come up with music for some of our segments. So there's lots of opportunities in the future for us to do collaboration with different departments as well.
Sounds great. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we have some people in the audience who are being appointed to different things tonight. So we will move to that next and not bore you with all our business. So, Chief, you want to start off?
Sure. I'll be happy to start off. I'd like you to consider as the first appointment the appointment of our new Hillside Elementary School principal, Mrs. Amy Kazes. I know you have her resumes and you've seen her resume, but just to give you a quick briefing again, we had over 80 applicants for this position who went through a fairly rigorous interviewing process, including 2 rounds with a large committee. From there, we did narrow it down to 3 candidates who went on to another round. And Amy did emerge as what we feel is the best candidate of her choice to be the next Hillside principal. Amy's been an elementary school principal for 15 years. She has experience as a principal intern, administrative intern, staff developer, learning facilitator, and has most recently been the supervisor of instruction for Boe 6. She's somewhat familiar with Hillside, as she's done a little consulting work through Boe 6 at the Hillside School. We're excited to recommend Amy for consideration for this position. In checking her references, a couple of them described her as stellar, consummate teacher, quick study, and approaches things with grace and care. And I think those skills will serve us nicely as we look forward to moving Hillside to the next level. So it's my pleasure to recommend Amy to the board.
Okay. I think you mean 15 years of teaching.
You know what I said?
You said principal.
No, I did? No, not yet.
Just overbill you.
Teaching.
I just want to clarify.
Sorry about
that.
that. My bad.
15 years of teaching. Okay, can I have a motion then to approve Amy cases?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Welcome, Amy. If you'd like to come up so that people can attach a name to a face and whatever you'd like to say.
Good evening, everybody. In thinking about what to talk about tonight briefly, I just think about my dream, and it's been my dream to be an elementary school principal for a long time. And when Dr. Montesano called with the offer of the position for Hillside principal, I said to him, I can't believe it, it's my dream job. And it truly is. It's my dream job. It's my dream of helping students to be able to grow academically and socially and emotionally. And it's my dream of empowering teachers and really helping them to be able to lead with passion and creativity, skill, and love. It's my dream of partnering with parents. As a parent myself, I understand the parent perspective and the idea that together we want to help kids get to the point where they can have the best opportunity. And it's my dream of being a part of a community that cares so deeply about education. And tonight my dream is realized, and I am so excited to be a part of this fine leadership team, and I just can't say how excited I am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome.
I wish you all the best.
I'd like to acknowledge Amy's husband's in the audience as well, so thank you for coming out. Appreciate that. The next one?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which order.
Take your pick.
No, okay. Thanks. Dealer's choice?
Dealer's choice.
All right. Because it's next on my screen, I'm going to, it's my pleasure to recommend Amanda Bassman to be to receive the probationary position in phys ed for the Hillside School. Amanda started off with, as you know, as a building substitute with us a couple years ago, and this past year She has been in a part-time role as a phys ed teacher at Hillside School as well. She's performed admirably, and after a thorough interview process, she did emerge as the candidate of choice. Amanda received her BA from Scranton and a master's from Manhattanville College. She's also done some coaching for us as well. So it is, again, a pleasure of mine to recommend Ms. Amanda Bassman for the probationary position at Hillside School for Phys Ed.
All right. Can I have a motion? And a second? Second. And all those in favor? All right, so 1.0. You have an opportunity to speak if you'd like.
Why not?
Hello, I just wanted to quickly and briefly say that as a graduate of Hastings, I went through Hillside and I had extraordinary physical education teachers, one of which I have the opportunity to work with now. And it's an honor to come full circle and take what I've learned in that same gymnasium and kind of gear and guide the students in a direction that, you know, my teachers guided me. This past year has been extraordinary. Everyone said it was going to be the hardest year of my teaching career, and it was definitely the most exhilarating. I've learned so much, and I'm very excited to take this to the next level and hopefully, you know, improve on years to come. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, next I'd like to introduce Mr. Joseph Epstein to the board for consideration and recommendation to be the special education teacher at Farragut Middle School. Joe actually started his teaching career in Hawaii. Why he came back is beyond me. I asked if I could do an observation there, but he wasn't there any longer, so I wasn't able to do that. But he's also had, when he came back, had some experiences at Dobbs Ferry as a lead replacement, and for the past 5 years as the mentor teacher, head teacher, and lead mentor teacher at the Learning Spring School in Manhattan in the area of special education. To give you a little insight to Joe's character and how he feels about education, when we called him to see if he would be willing to accept the offer, he was a little tentative on the phone, and we couldn't quite figure it out. And then come to realize he called back and said, you know, my wife just went into labor, so I have to get back to you in a little while if you don't mind. Now, I've since learned that it was a long labor, and she ultimately had a C-section. But he did say, look, if you need me, I'm available. And the baby just got brought home yesterday, and he's here as well. I'm not so sure if his wife's happy or not, but good planning, Joe. Appreciate that very much. And Joe received his bachelor's from the State University of New York at Oneonta and master's from City College of New York. And so it is a pleasure for me to recommend Joe as a special education teacher at Farragut Middle School.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
We'll go with Karen. Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? All right. Well, this is the Joan Goodwin's replacement, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
Joan was here for ages and ages and ages, so I hope you have that successful career. Welcome. If you'd like to say something.
So I'll also try to keep it quick. Really don't know where to begin. I didn't think I was going to make it in tonight, but I was able to sneak away for a little while. To steal a line from Amy, it really is a dream come true. I grew up in Dobbs Ferry, so I'm a local guy. Been working with the special ed population for the last 7-8 years. And able to come back from the moment that I walked in the building, I felt like I was home. It really reminds me of spent a lot of time in Reynolds Field and the fields around the area, and I'm just so thrilled that things worked out the way that it did. It was definitely an interesting phone call with Dr. Montesano and Ms. Kipper, but I was able to squeeze it in between contractions and tell my wife the good news. And I just trying to find the right words to express my excitement and how thrilled I am to be joining your community in September. So thank you all.
Welcome.
Thanks, Joe. Welcome. And we do have someone else I'd like to recommend to you tonight who's in the audience. That's Joanne Marty as a lead replacement teacher for first grade to take over Sandy Bendet's classroom, who's going to be retiring in October. And Joanne's been with us now for a couple of years as a building sub. In 14, she actually started student teaching in Hillside as well. So she did her student teaching in grade 4, was a permanent sub for us as well, and then has served in various lead replacement roles over the last year in second grade, third grade, in the FLES classroom, kind of a master of all trades for us, utility player, wherever we need somebody who we know is going to be bright and cheery and great with kids, we plug her in as best we can. So now it's an opportunity for her to have a full year with us in grade 1. So just to give you a little background, she received a BA in psychology from College of Mount St. Vincent, a master's in childhood and special ed as well, and has English as a new language extension, all from the College of Mount St. Vincent. So it's a pleasure for me to be able to recommend Joanne as a lead replacement for grade 1 to you.
All right. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right. Well, welcome to your next year.
There you go. Good for you.
Would you like to say anything?
Hello, good evening all. I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity. Being in Hillside, I've learned to love it. Walking in through the doors, I feel like I went to school there. If there's like a welcoming family, there's no other place I would rather be to start my career, and hopefully I can stay here.
Well, do good things.
Yes, I will. I hope. Yes. So I just want to thank everyone again, Fareed, Laura, who was there, and I'm excited to start my journey with Amy Cases. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So what we're going to do now is go back to the beginning of our business meeting. So we took you guys all out of order. So this is your opportunity to exit gracefully. If you'd like to stay, you're welcome, but you're all welcome to leave. And we will see you around. Enjoy the summer, too.
Thanks for coming out, folks.
Yeah. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care of that baby, Joe.
Yes. Thank you, wife.
See you tomorrow morning.
Good night.
That's how it goes. That's like what she said. Like, you were going to those times.
Okay, so why don't we go back? We'll just go back to take things in order. We'll go back to business. So we have 10, 11, no, 10. Do we need to do the resolution separately?
You know, I don't know if you do or not, but I would.
I would, yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, then, were there any questions on 1 through 9?
Maureen, would you just take us through the equipment and stuff for the lunch budget?
Sure. Oh, sorry, Maureen.
So one of the things we've been working on the last few years was the idea to create a new salad bar area in our cafeteria. Our current salad bar and sandwich station, it gets very congested, and we believe having a larger self-serve salad area would allow kids to be able to serve themselves at both sides. It would be something more similar to what you see in either a supermarket or a Stu Leonard's, where they would then weigh, put what they would like in there and then weigh it. So that's the money that you see being proposed to be transferred in to increase the budget of the lunch fund so that we can purchase this equipment.
And the contractual expense?
That was just because the overall sales and the revenues and expenses of the cafeteria exceeded our initial expectation. They did better this year, but the bills are also higher, so we have to increase the budget.
I have a question about the first item.
Yep.
Does this special ed consortium, have we done it with this same group of districts, or is this an expanded group?
I believe it's the same district. I mean, it's for the most part the same districts. Occasionally districts that initially were in the consortium have left, and some have been added, but the core group is the same. And again, we were actually just speaking about it today that with Laura that we'll do, every year we do an analysis of whether it makes sense to continue being part of it. So Each year, we look to see who still participates and who is coming to us, where we're sending our kids. And this year, we're going to remain in it. And then maybe, and each year we do look at that, though, so.
Okay. So can I get a motion then to approve items 1 through 9 as a consent?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Sorry, I got to call it gap. All those in favor? Okay. The final item on business is number 10. It's a resolution authorizing settlement of litigation. I guess I'll just read this so it's there on the record. Whereas an action was instituted against the Hastings-on-Hudson Union Free School District and other defendants in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York on June 18, 2014. And whereas the Board of Education has consulted with its counsel and has determined that settlement of the above action shall be in the interest of the Hastings-on-Hudson Union Free School District rather than to incur the costs and expense of litigation. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the district authorizes and approves the settlement of the action instituted in the U.S. District Court. Oh boy, this is such legalese. For the Southern District of New York on June 18, 2014, upon the terms recommended by its counsel and the superintendent of schools and/or the president of the board are authorized and empowered to sign all documents and to take all actions necessary to finalize the settlement and effectuate the terms of the settlement and this resolution. Any questions? Okay. Can I have a motion then to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. All right then. We have the other portion of business are the placements for services. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. So personnel, we'll go back into personnel. Items 1, 5, and then 7 through 15. Are the remaining items, does people have things they want to talk about, or? Okay, then can I get a motion to approve those specific, which are the remainder of the personnel items?
So moved.
And a second? Second. All those in favor? Okay. We had some minutes from the the June 7th meeting. Anybody have any changes they need to make, or? All right, can I get a motion to approve them?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Theater Arts, you guys met?
We did. And so we first...
Nice banner.
Yeah.
I know, that
We first talked about the incredible amount of publicity that Les Mis has gotten and how busy Gerard was the week or two after dealing with...
Yeah.
Sort of. Then we talked about the vocal health of the kids in the choruses and the musicals, and making sure that we teach kids kind of at every step the way of singing, how to protect their voices, and how to, this, I didn't realize this, but that you can use the word marking, like when you dance, you can mark out
Your routine.
Your routine, right. It's the same thing with voice, where there's a way to mark your performance and so pull it back a little bit so that you have you protect your vocal apparatus. We had a couple of kids who kind of really went to town and really needed to rest after Les Mis, and it's happened with some of our concerts as well, and so we did spend a bit of time talking about what all of the music folks and musical folks should be focusing on in terms of teaching how to do that. Then we went on to talk about what a shame it is that we don't have a theater department. And I think that this course kind of piggybacked the TV production course piggybacked with some of the ideas people had for having a tech course that was the idea was raised, which would cover maybe not the writing piece, but a lot of the other things that that Mr. Scotch is covering in his class with getting a sampling of all of the aspects of theater tech. Then it was also brought up about getting academic credit for more in the independent study path for lighting, sound, other technical things that where some kids really spend a huge amount of time doing that, and so that they wanted to raise the possibility of having that as.
Was it something the students asked for, or something that was it something that the students were asking for, like? Or was it something
I don't know whether
recognizing that they were spending so much
I think we've had a couple of kids do
I think we have in the past.
independent studies, and there are a couple of kids now who might be interested in doing that.
Part of the thing is that the high school kids that do the sound and the lighting not only work on the high school shows, but they work on all the shows, the middle school and the fourth grade.
It's a lot of time.
And even with the middle school and the hillside shows, they may be sort of mentoring the younger kids, but they are really working almost on every single show all year long. And I think they're helping. I'm having a senior moment. Our
music?
No, our technical director, like things in between the shows.
Denise?
Yeah.
Denise, thank you. Helping her, I think, with sort of organizing the equipment and dealing with stuff like that in between, so it does end up becoming pretty time-consuming.
And I think it would mean adding some more sort of technical stuff to their education that, Denise is really a sound person, and she knows lighting, but there's a lot of complications, or a lot to learn about mixing colors and angles and stuff like that. So there was kind of an extensive discussion about doing having classwork in that area. And let's see what else. And then the last thing we talked about is scheduling meetings for next year. And I think all of the directors and Denise felt it was important to have 3 meetings during the year, because that's how they, exchange information and ideas and stuff like that. So in the absence of a department, of course.
Well, do they have those meetings on their own without board members? I mean, they do have their own sort of organization meetings without...
No, the only meetings they have are the 3 that we're involved in.
Yeah.
Because, really, other than Gerard, everyone there is hired to do a specific show, or maybe 2 shows. So they don't have that kind of regular interaction. And so usually we have the one, a meeting at the beginning of the year, the meeting at the end of the year is, to sort of kind of discuss how the year went, and then in the middle of the year to deal with kind of any ongoing issues or things coming up. But I think it's always difficult because you want to schedule it at a time that none of the directors are actually in rehearsal, so that they can all be there. So the person that fell on their sword this year and missed the meetings was me.
But planning them ahead of time will give Donna the ability to plan her schedule. There was one other thing that, oh my goodness, I can't remember now. Never mind. Okay.
But I think we've all been exceedingly happy with the new auditorium.
Yes, yes.
I think that's come out throughout the year. That it just been a wonderful thing for everybody.
Okay. Thanks. I'm sorry, I'm distractedly trying to find something, and I think I left it at home.
Student report?
No.
No.
But we can have the student report right now, and
Then you can keep.
we can introduce our...
Okay, yes, so this is the new liaison. This is Parker. Say hello. Okay. She is a sophomore, going to be a junior. Would you like to say anything?
I'm really excited for the next year.
Okay. So, yeah, it's the end of the school year. I don't really have anything to report from the students. I think the school year went well overall. Everyone's really happy, and everyone's excited for next year. I think it's almost over. Some people still have testing, but Thursday, everyone, or Wednesday?
Tomorrow,
everyone will be done. So
There's no science regent right after graduation or anything like that?
no, it's after prom.
Oh, after prom. That's what it's scheduled.
That's the conflict.
today.
Yeah.
Did you work out with Mr. A what the events were going to be for opening day of school?
No, it's still like an ongoing kind of thing. I think we're going to talk about it over the summer, but what he wanted to do and what we wanted to do is kind of have like a parade throughout the school, I guess, with like the seniors kind of running throughout the halls, like playing music. Basically what we had done with the music and the excitement and, you know, everyone kind of being loud in the front, but kind of moving into the halls and taking seniors out of classrooms and then all coming to like the gym or something and maybe having food or some kind of maybe pep rally there. We haven't really figured out all the logistics, but I know that we also are going to be having a senior breakfast in the morning, that morning. So there have been a couple ideas, trying to figure it out, trying to make new traditions. So I think what we've heard of, everyone's been pretty, happy about. So I think it's working out well.
Your grade is a good one to create new traditions.
Yeah. So that's all.
Well, thank you very much for all you've done for us this year, and
thank you.
Welcome aboard.
One second, I did remember one other thing that I wanted to say. This is an improvement. They've laid out the schedule of shows for next year already.
Wow.
Wow. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's just really great.
When did the actual calendar dates, or just sort of
calendar dates?
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's because everybody else is that organized, or they just jumped on the dates? I mean, because sometimes they were trying to do them
before the music department did.
I wonder what the level of cooperation was.
Before the big calendar meeting hits, they're ready to go. I like it.
Okay. Are they much different than what they were this year? Or?
I don't even know,
but they're in there. Okay.
Yeah.
So we didn't have anything under old business. I have one thing I wanted to bring up on the new business. I think we all got this letter from Paul Feiner, just so that people are aware. I don't know whether it was covered in the paper or not, but the change in the assessments is going to be phased in. It was passed by New York State legislation this past week. And it doesn't specifically address the district. We have the same level of revenues, but it does affect how people's taxes will change over the next couple of years. So regardless of what the assessment, there'll be sort of since what will happen is that the people who are having large increases in their assessments, that only 2/3 of that, I guess, is going to hit the first year, and then 1/3 will hit the second year. And so their assessment will go up gradually. And as it's going up gradually, the people whose assessments went down will go down, but we still have to make up the revenues, so everybody's tax rates will be a little higher. So it kind of balances out in that sense. So we end up with the same level of income as a district, but it's not quite.
So they're not doing the tax lowering gradually?
Well, basically what it does is it is gradual, because you have to make up the monies from someplace. And there's 1/3 of the increase in assessments that's not going to be assessed to those individuals this year. So everybody's tax rate will be a little higher than it would have otherwise been. So yes, don't take all that big money that you're going to save. Spend it on vacation yet, see what it is. So, but I guess that will be coming out of the next. They did offer if they wanted to come, but I would suggest that there's really no need for them to come and talk to us at this point. I think it's kind of done is done, and hopefully the community, can follow along with that, I think, through the newspapers, because I don't know that too many are going to follow along with what I just said. So, but anyway, but that is sort of out there. Okay.
Eileen, I have just one quick new business thing, which is I think I gave everyone this wonderful article that was in the New York Times today on an issue that's near and dear to my heart, which is the importance of kids learning to write both print and script or cursive. And so I just suggest that everyone on the board read it, but it talks about the importance of it not just as a fine motor skill, but of studies that have been done that show the connections and the parts of the brain that are sort of fired by the actual process of writing that helps kids with actual understanding of what they're doing. And they talk about the importance of not just learning to print, but learning to write cursive. So I just would like everyone to get a chance to read.
Thank you for bringing that up.
It was in the Science Times today. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. The last thing that we need to do tonight, does anybody have comments they'd like to make? I have something I was going to read. And
I have something that I'd like to say. It's our last meeting, and I just want to thank everybody for being such a fantastic team of people to work with. I think that's pretty rare in teams, that everybody gets along and respects one another and listens. And I mean, working with such a smart group of people has been wonderful. I just have so much respect for everyone, and I'm going to miss being here. So, and I really feel like the district is in such a good and improving place. So thank you, Roy, for I think making that possible. And that's it.
I actually have a letter from Jody that she asked me to read. So would you like to talk first? Would you like to read it? All right, because you can't keep her down. She's far, far away, but she sent me this. She said, "I'm sorry that I cannot be at this meeting, but wanted to say a few words about and to Karen and Wendy. It is with sadness and much appreciation that I formally thank you for your service and dedication to the children, families, and the entire Hastings community. You have both served as part of a Board of Ed that has worked long and hard together, and together we have accomplished so much for this district. Often much has gone unnoticed, as it has often been seamless, but the improvements in the tone in the district are palpable. Karen, you have kept a focus and often a sense of humor when needed that has allowed us to move forward in thoughtful and important ways. Your prior work with the Hastings Education Foundation has added an important element to our work, and your most perceptive finger on the pulse of the Hastings community will be sorely missed. You and Wendy have been tireless members of the Facilities Committee, which, did you see the note from Norb?
Yes.
Thank you, Norbert. At an historic moment when we have transformed our district's facilities, most notably our outdoor track, along with the tennis courts, almost, and the fields at the Burke Estate. These improvements have all been done thoughtfully and cost-effectively for our community. Wendy, we worked together as PTSA presidents prior to each of our serving on the Board of Ed, so our time goes way back. As a board member, you have committed yourself to vital areas for this district. You are a patron and a most vital advocate of the arts in all areas of the schools. You have taken much initiative with regard to serving as a board liaison to West Putt and educating us all in matters regarding statewide legislative issues, policies, and education matters that we need to focus on outside of our district. You have always been willing to step up when we need a board member to attend a meeting, thank you very much, in the district or representing us in the field. I could go on, you know me, but I wanted to take this time to thank both of you for your years of hard work, time, and dedication that you have given to our board and to our community. So I can only say here. And, I we'll absolutely miss both of you tremendously. And, hope you have fun doing the things you have not been able to do on Tuesday nights.
Well, I wanted to say I wanted to ditto that. And as we had our presentation on the TV studio today, to me, the theme that came through was communication and teamwork. And as they were talking, I was really thinking about you two and what you've contributed to the board and how great it's been to work with you for exactly that, for the open communication we've had, for the sense of teamwork and the ability to work together during difficult times. The last few years have been very difficult, and I really want to thank you, and it's been great working with you, and see you.
Our ability to laugh when we're dealing with serious stuff, and especially when there's food in front of us. That's right. That's fantastic.
All right, so these are wet.
You want to get out?
Sure.
The cup has water in it.
They're already in water, so be careful.
Janine's will be trapped in water, so.
Yeah, you basically painted it on the wall.
But they may fade, but I hope your memories stay with you. So. But anyway, so, I'd like a motion to move into executive session. We're not really done yet.
After all that.
Wait, can I just say one thing? I just want to say thank you to everyone, including Maureen, Janine, Patrick, all of the administrative staff and the teachers, and we've gotten such wonderful notes and emails from people, supportive, and all of the kids. It's been really, really great being here, and I'll miss all of you.
We will miss both of you.
We will miss you.
All right.
Even though you'll still see me because Jackson's still there.
We hope so.
Maybe you can make an emeritus presentation of his diploma next year. All right, so can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, so
We are the
Lindsay and Gab. All right, thank you. We're adjourned to executive session.